I'll pay Testament base and if everything goes well, we should finish today. And the CM is postponed for 3 days till Sunday, Bez Hashem. But we should continue Kedushin, Bez Hashem. It says in the Mishnah about if a call, the whole issue here is about a call. A rumor came out, and you choshish for the rumor. I understand the case about a rumor about a woman being married, so she can't marry anybody else besides the alleged husband because she might be married to him, unless she gets a divorce from him. And if there's a call that she is a grusha, so then she has to marry a Kohen. The Mishnah ended off with Vashlo Teishama Masla only if there's no, how did the Askrol say, mitigating factor. That if there's something, some in the call already put some stipulation that it wasn't 100%, so then you don't have to be choshesh for the call because the call itself didn't say that it's absolute. The Mishnah gave two examples. One of it is a Tanai, so that this woman was divorced or married, al Tanai. So the call itself said that it wasn't absolute. So not terrible. You don't have to be choshesh for it because nobody's going to say that there was an affair done. It could be that the Tanai was not fulfilled, or if there was a suffix. So suffix was mitbarer. That's what the Mishnah said. The Bashlo Teishama Masla. I thought the word Masla came a little bit from the word mashal, but that doesn't fit so well with the idea. So it means something about, sometimes it's used as an excuse. That's also not the point over here. So Rashi says that it means something which takes down the strength of the call. Even if when the call came out, it came out as an absolute, but then 10 days later, the call came with a condition, with a suffix. It came up, the part of the masla part of the call wasn't simultaneous with the call. The call first came out, and then 10 days later, or whatever time, came out a masla. That's also good enough to be considered a masla, and the call is batal. We had yesterday on Amar Aleph that Rebbe Yochanan argues on this and says no, that has to be only if it originally came out with a masla. But if the call came out strong, even if later on the masla followed, that's not good enough. Yet the Gemara doesn't bring down. Rebbe Yochanan argues it just says the one statement, Rabbi Bar Huna, ended the sugya. But we did have Rebbe Yochanan argues before, and is machmer. Rebbe Yochanan is machmer and says that masla is only good when it came simultaneously with the call. Nu Gemara, does vid Amar. So the Pashto of the Mishnah says that if there's a masla, that means that the call came with a mitigating factor, a tanai, a suffix. But if it says a kula, a leniency, that if there's possibility to be an masla, we already take that into consideration. The word choshishin usually sounds like a chumrah, but sometimes the word the choshishin means the kula. Here's one of those places that it means we rely on the masla, even though there was no masla. Since it's possible to be an masla, we invented also. So I don't know what the case would be that you can, unless the call said the parish that there was no unconditional. But if there be a possibility to stipulate, make him imagine that there was a mitigating factor, this tanai or suffix, so we could do it also. Just to see Rashi on that. Also, so Rashi says those words. The words alone in the Gemara might be a little bit difficult. Choshishin doesn't mean a chumrah, it means a kula. And b'mokam masla means if there's a place where there's a pesach, there's a possibility to say that there wasn't a masla, even though the call didn't say that. If we could interject a masla, that's good enough. A big leniency of Rav Zvi. If there's a possibility to be in a masla, we consider that possibility and we'll make it when we say that there's an masla, we're not choshish for the call. And you're relying on it. We'll rely on that masla. If it's possible to be in a masla, we rely on that masla. And even though there was no such masla in the rumor, but if it's possible to be, so we could also interject it, and it's good enough. I don't know when it's going to be very narrow now when there's no possibility to be in a masla. I don't know. Papa Rakasha on this, it says in the Mishnah, it says that the Mishnah only says if there isn't a masla. It sounds if there's an masla, so then it's a call. If there's no masla, so it sounds like it has to depend if there is or there's not if it could theoretically be. But Rav Zvid wasn't impressed. The Mishnah also means if there's no possibility to be in a masla, then it's a call. But if there's a possibility to be in a masla, it's good enough. So even though the simple words in the Mishnah don't mean that, Rav Zvid is not stunned by it, and he says the Mishnah can mean that also. So Rav Papa was attacking Rav Zvid. He didn't seem to hold up his leniency, and Rav Kana is going to
try to prove it. The proper, you don't hold of this leniency. I'll show you a Mishnah that seems to say that you rely on a possible amasla. But not Mishnah in Yavamis. So that's the famous case we had in Yavamis at Len. Talked about a man went overseas, and an Eid Echad came and says that he died. The woman's allowed to marry, and we take into account that if she knows that if her husband's going to come back, she's going to be in great trouble. So we rely on the Eid Echad together with the consequences that she's going to have if the husband does come back. And if she says, I know for sure that he dies, she's allowed to get married. If she gets married and then the husband comes back, then she's really in trouble. She loses everything. Kids are if she married. So, but here it talks about Niskasha, that she didn't actually do the second, she didn't consummate the marriage. She only Niskasha, only was, how do we say again that word? I think always get Kedushin. Betrothed, yeah. Only betrothal. So then she didn't marry. She didn't consummate the marriage with the second man now. And then the husband came and said, here I am. So then she is allowed to go back to the first husband, even though she did wrong by accepting the Kedushin. Because, did she do wrong? No, she says, I know that he's dead, but really he wasn't dead. Eid Echad said that he's dead. And she found out, investigated as much as she could, and she said, I know that he's dead. But then the husband came back. So here it says she is allowed to go back to the husband. If she was Nissa, if she got married, she consummated the marriage with the relations with the second husband, and then the real husband comes back, the first husband comes back, so then she's in trouble, and she can't go to any husband. But if she only had Kedushin with this new husband, and then the real husband comes back, so then she's allowed to return to him. And the Gemara is assuming that there's a problem. There's really a problem, because people might say that it's machzik rushasa. Means the first husband who went overseas, did he divorce her? Now the truth is he didn't divorce her. The truth is he just went overseas and didn't come back, whatever. And Eid Echad came and said that he died, and that's why she got Kedushin from somebody else. She thought that he died. But people might have a different story. People might see in this story that he divorced her, and now she did Kedushin to somebody else, and now he's going to take her back again. That's Machzik Rushasa. So that the Gemara is assuming is a problem. How can it be mutter for her to go back to the original husband? Shouldn't we be choshesh for a possible Machzik Rushasa that people are going to talk? To answer this question, the Gemara thinks it must be thrown in a masla. Lav mishum darminan al tanai kaddish. Is it not because we say that even though there was a second kedusha, now she got married to the second husband, the second man, her husband went overseas, and maybe he divorced her. Maybe people are talking that he divorced her, and then she was miskadeshes to a new husband. Only if the husband doesn't come back. People will assume, will throw in, there was no such, we didn't hear about this. And the truth is it wasn't like that. But don't we invent an amasla and say that the second marriage was al-tanai, that her first husband doesn't come back. And then when the first husband came back, so then the second kedushin was nothing. So it wasn't Machzik Rushoso because she didn't marry anybody else in between. This is what Rav Kana is assuming was found in the Mishnah Yavamis, and he's asking our Papa, don't you see that we invented a masla? Even though there's a problem, there's a call, people might say Machzik Rushoso, but we can combat this call by saying that no, there might have been a tanai, and means even the whole thing is imagination. But the question is, how much do we imagine? There's a call. I mean, here there's no call. Here there's an actual husband that came back, and she actually did kedushin to the second husband. But she didn't consummate the marriage. And she's allowed to go back. But there's a problem. Maybe she didn't consummate the marriage. There's a problem because Machzik Rushasa, that if somebody divorced his wife and then she had kedushin to somebody, Eris and only kedushin to somebody else, and he divorced her, she's not allowed to go back to the first husband, even though they didn't consummate the marriage. So why not choshesh for that? It must be because we say that even though the second husband did kedushin, but the kedushin must have been al tanai that the first husband doesn't come back, and therefore when the first husband comes back, it never was a kedushin. So she's not machzik rushaso because she didn't marry anybody else. So Rav Kana wants to prove from this that we do say we invent a masla. Isn't the reason why we allow her to go back is because we say means we thrown in a masla that the kedushin that the second one did was al tanai that the first husband doesn't come back. So you see, we invented an amasla. That's not the pshat. All wrong. That's not the pshat. Pose your question: how come not choshesh for laws that people will talk and say that the husband's machzik rushasa? Because shani yosam basi bal b'kamara. The husband is coming and he says he's screaming, "I never died and I never divorced her." Also, the husband is coming to say he didn't divorce her. the husband who originally came back, what are people going to say? That he maybe divorced her, and now she married somebody else, and now he's taking her back. That's Masik Rushasa. No, the husband is coming screaming and saying that I did not divorce her. So there's no problem at all of this chash. And by us, there's a question of a call, and we have to invent an amasla. But this says don't invent an amasla. But over here, the reason why we don't be choshish for this chash, that people will start talking is Masik Rushasa, is because the husband is saying, I never divorced her. The truth is, he never divorced her. He went overseas, and then he didn't come back, whatever the case was. He got stuck wherever he was, and the Eid Dechel came and said that he died, and husband comes back and says, I didn't die, and I didn't divorce her either. So the fact that she married somebody else in between, she had a kiddushin from somebody, it's not a reason they can't take her back. There's no Masik Rushasa. And the wedding, what? The second kiddushin is surely not chal because the truth is the second kiddushin wasn't chal because the first husband never divorced her and didn't die. He's here, alive and well, and never divorced her. The question we have is if she didn't have relations with the second husband, she just had kiddushin. If she would, that's the whole difference over there. If she consummated the marriage with the second one, then the first husband comes back. She was mazana. There was Aisha Sish, and she loses out. Takes him mizeh, but mamzer mizeh, she loses ksuba mizeh. That's the real problem. But he was talking about only niskacha. It was only kedushin to the second husband, and before that had a chance to consummate the marriage, the first husband came back and said, "Here I am." The whole Gemara's kasha was people are going to talk and say he must maybe divorced her, and then she did kedushin to the second one, and then he divorced her. She's going back to the first one. It looks bad. That the Gemara says that the more thought is because we invent that there was a Tanai in the second. The Gemara says no, it's not the reason. The reason why we're not choshes for old stories because the husband's screaming and saying I didn't divorce her. That's why he quiets everything down. People don't talk about Masik Gusha. So people hear that he says I never divorced her. Right. You don't need an amasla because there's no problem. There's no problem in the first place. It knocked out the kasha. The kasha was based on an assumption that there's a problem over there, and the solution to the problem must have been an amasla. The Gemara says there's no problem over there because the husband is saying I didn't divorce her. But then the Gemara asks the Yachi Nisei Snami. So even if she did consummate the marriage with the second one, it should be considered an onus. Means the Gemara is asking that when a husband goes overseas and the Eid Echad comes and says that he died, and she investigates, and Bezdin allows her to get married, so it's an onus if the husband comes back. It means she did everything in her power, and therefore she shall be allowed to go back because even though she did have relations, she still was married to the first husband, but with an onus because she had all the right to think to the second husband. There's niskacha and there's nises. If you look on the screen, there's niskacha. Nises means that they consummated the marriage. The first husband went overseas and then come back. That there also a shibim wanted to go back. Over there, she's also going to go back. Right, she's not allowed to. Why? And the was asking. The more I thought, the whole problem is because there's going to be this rumor that there was Machzor Gushasa, and the Gemara thought that that's the reason by kedushin. It could be the kedushin was al tanai. You can't do nesuin al tanai. You can't have relations al tanai. That's going to come out there. You can't do that. You can do kedushin al tanai. So that's what the Gemara thought, that if there only was kedushin, so then people will make an amasla and say that there was kedushin al tanai. So the second marriage wasn't a marriage. It's not Machzor Gushasa. But if there was nesuin, there's no tanai. No one's going to have relations. We consummate the marriage al tanai. That's going to become very dangerous. That if the tanai is not true, so then they had znus. So no. So that's what the Gemara thought. The Gemara is answering, no, there is really no problem with Machzor Gushasa because everybody knows that the husband is standing and saying, I never divorced her. So the Gemara is asking if that's true. So then even by this case also, she consummated marriage with the second one. So you also should be able to go back to the first husband because she's an onus. And there's no problem with Machzor Gushasa. By other books. Right. The Bezdin Sanhedrin allowed her to get married to the second one because you have an age. Right. So the Gemara thought the reason it's a problem is because it's a problem with Machzor Gushasa, so people will talk. But you're saying people are not going to talk. There's no difference between kedushin and nesuin there. If people are not going to talk because the husband says, I never divorced her, so it shouldn't be a problem even if this says. The Gemara says, no, there's a difference. This says that the Yisura Kansura Rabbanan. This catch blow of the Yisura Kansura Rabbanan. The whole thing is a knas. The whole thing is a knas. The Teitzem Mizeh, but Mamzer Mizeh. And the knas is only if she did Avera. The Avera was to consummate the marriage with the second one. That's if she's really married still to the first one. The first husband is still alive. So then she's doing an Avera by having relations. The Kedushin alone is not an Avera. She just accepted the ring. But if he comes back, he comes back. So here, Rashi explains that the knas, like the Gemara says in Yavamis, we have to make a big knas and say that she's going to be Teitzem Mizeh, Mamzer Mizeh, because that's the only reason What? Right, and the first one is also when they cannot be a mamzer. If she goes back to the first husband and continues to have children, that's the drabana. In each thing it has one. The one is benadin, one is drabana maybe, but you have a whole list of 16 things over there. And the reason why they did that is to say we're going to give you all these consequences that therefore we're not to be making in the beginning and trust you. It means really she only has an eidach. How could you rely on the eidach? Right? The Gemara says because Daiko Mitzvah, since she knows that if she's wrong, husband's really alive, she's going to get it. They tell her before they know that you can marry if you doing good investigation, but know ye that if the husband's going to come back, you're in big trouble. So we make the big trouble in order that she should be able to get married on her own word. So over there it's necessary to make a knas, but the Gemara threw away the whole thing about this. But the Gemara thought that the problem over there is because the laws about maslik grusha, so that's not true. And how did the whole thing come in? We're talking about if we invented a masla. Rav Zvid said yes. Rav Papa was not agreeing with him. The Gemara thought it had a riot to Rav Zvid that we do invent an amasla. And the Gemara says it's not a riot from there, nothing to do with a cold. There's no problem over there. The problem over there is there's no real problem of the Masik Rishah. So the problem is because we want to make a knas when she was niseis in order that she should be able to get married on her own word. But by the Kiddushin, there's no reason to make the knas. So, Minadin, there's no chash because the husband comes back and says, I never divorced her. End of that sugya. Okay, so what we learn, machlokes, if we can invent an amasla. Jed had a big hula, that even though the Mishnah says if there's an amasla, then there's no call. Because we said as long as there's a possibility to be an amasla, is also good enough. Rafa challenged it. Nugamara, Amra Bashi, Kol Kolad Los Hasik B'Beidino Lav Kolahu. Any call that was not registered by Bezdin is not a call. So I said the word registered is not really exact translation. Rashi says, I think in the wide lines over here, that Bezdin has to accept the call, that they say that it's a valid call. Where's Rashi over here? The last narrow line, Los Chasik Beidina Shalo Batku Bezdin Achrav Shalo Teish Mias Kol Avara. That we said before, yesterday we said that there are some call that we don't consider at all. It's just a rumor. And we said yesterday it has to be a serious rumor that you ask the person, you investigate. You said something, who did you hear it from? And he says, and you go to him, where did you hear it from? And they go back. Either they find the Eidus Mamish, or they find the whole thing's a lie, and then they say this is not a good rumor. Or they find that he said that I heard it from Ruben and he went overseas. You can't find him anymore. So Bezdin has to verify that it's a valid call. So any Bezdin, any call that was not verified by Bezdin, not verified that they know that it's true. Register. I said the word register means that Bezdin accepted this is a valid call. I'm not sure if the word registered is a good way they affirmed it as being a valid call. Not that they affirmed it, they verified that the facts are true. They don't know. They say that they're. So we said yesterday. What? We said we go to the people who said it and they asked, where did you hear it from? I forgot who I heard it from. You forgot, right? And then the last guy is not around now. That's why it's stuck only to be a call. If Levi would be here and say, yes, I saw it myself, then you have Edis. Step up to the the best in the wants to hear your Edis. He's Mamash and Eid. But if they got a dead end because the person that we heard it from is not around anymore, okay, so we can't verify that it's true. We can't verify that it's false either. But it's a serious call. So Bezdin has to affirm that it's a valid call. If it wasn't accepted by Bezdin as being a valid call, then you ignore it. That was the words of Rabashi. End of that segment. Short, one line. Next one. Vam Ravashi. Nugamar. One liner. Nobody's right. Nobody says anything. Vam Ravashi. Kol the bus in the sewer lechashin away. We had a couple of times already. A call which rises after the marriage, means when they got married, they consummated the marriage, nobody heard anything. And then afterwards, there's a call comes out. There's a problem. A Kohen married a woman, and then after he gets married to her, then a call is a grusha. But before the Nisuin, there was no rumor. You're not cautious for such a kind of a call that you're not going to say she has to get divorced because of that. If the rumor was before the Nisuin and she got married, you're not going to tell her to get divorced because the rumor was there before. You shouldn't have got married. But if that's what he says. No, that's just like the word Basan Nisuin means. The call came out after the Nisuin. No, yeah, but I didn't say that yet. That I didn't say. I didn't say it yet. I was just explaining what it means. Right, without explaining. But I didn't mean what the Gemara is going to say. We'll see in a second. That if the call came out after the Nisuin, so we don't care about it. We don't worry about it. I just said, in parentheses, that if the call was before the Nisuin, even though now she's already married, she went ahead and got married, you are going to be worried about it. No, we're not just going to say don't get married. If we say don't get married and she got married, since the call was there already before, we're also worried. But now the Gemara says, how about how the Basa Erisin Chashin Alei? If there was Erisin, the first stage, if Erisin, the Kedushin, he gave her a ring, and then the call came out, so we are concerned about, then we still have to get divorced. Right. This is the deal. He didn't say it. He said Nesuim, after Nesuim, not Choshesh. Right. And if a little bit after Erisin, even though they're married already, what's the word? They are betrothed. So you might say it's also it's not fair, so to speak, like they already got married. Yeah, yeah. But they didn't consummate the marriage yet. So the Ravashi holds that only if it came out after the Nesuin do you ignore it. If it came out after the Erisin, you don't ignore it. But Rav Chaviva is more lenient. Rav Chaviva, people the Bas Erisin, Nami Lo Chashin Alei. Only if it was a call that came out before the Erisin, then that's a problem. Then you have to consider. But if it came out after the Erisin, also that's enough marriage, and you're not going to be choshish for the call that just arose now. The Ilchasa Lo Chashin Alei. We pass like Rav Chaviva against Ravashi. We're more lenient, even more than Ravashi. Even a call that came out after the Erisin, also you don't consider it. It was a year, yeah. Right. She's already in. New Gemara. From the yeshiva of Rav, they sent the question to Shmuel. The master should teach us. Shmuel should teach us. So it says in the Mishnah that if a call came down that a woman is married, so she's not to get married, she's not allowed to marry anybody else because we're cautious for the call that they say she's married to a certain person. And she says not, but there's such a call going around, and it's a valid call. That's a one person A and B. That there was a first of all call moving that there was a call that she was married, she was consecrated to Reuben, and then somebody else actually gave her kedushin for sure. Means she shouldn't have done this. She shouldn't have accepted kedushin from somebody else. Because the Mishnah says she's for a call, and maybe she's married to Reuben. So nobody else, because she should marry to somebody else. But somebody did. Somebody gave her kedushin. That for sure. He gave her in front of Eidim, a whole shabakruta in front of Eidim. So now, what are we going to do? What do we do? We have with Allah that there was a call that she shouldn't have gotten married, and she did. Mahu, what's the din? Shalach alahu. So Shmuel sent to them, Teitze. She has to get divorced. Because the choshish that the call was true. Who did she get divorced from? Divorce from Mao. Excuse me. Hello. Okay, not Gregor.
Yes, then.
We're talking
4 months before.
about the
4 months before. From Abraham, this is
was sent back to day run.
the Teitze, first Teitze, I think was the little saying, who she has to get divorced from. You do a Dover of Goya. That was the truth. 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have right here on the picture. And it just shows where they were going. Rav was in Surah, Shmuel was in Yahakir, and now dead.
Right? Yeah. That's
Right. So the question was, what happens if there was a call that she was married to the first person that she married? She actually got kedushin from the second one, Mahu. So this was again, this is the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that she shouldn't have married anybody, but she did. So we choshesh for the kohl. So what do you do? Shalach Lutza. Shmuel said Teitzei. She has to get divorced. Who did she get divorced from? The Gemara is going to discuss it. And check it out and let me know. That was what Shmuel said. We had a couple of times Shmuel said this already. Teitzei, but check it out. So that's the end of Shmuel's word. She has to get divorced, but check it out and let me know. So the more wants to know, what does he want to be checked out? My Bamidu Daval Boyo, or whatever the case is, what does he mean that it should be checked out? Did Shmuel mean to say, check out if the call is true? And if you find out, if you verify that the call is not true, that she was not really married to the first one, so you could allow her to stay by the second one. You're going to nullify, suffocate the call, and you'll be about to nullify the call and let her stay with the second one. Is that what Shmuel might have meant? Check out if the call is true, and if you know, and if you find out that it's not true, then she could stay with the second one. That's not true. But you ask with the Shmuel who the law about the color. We had before that there's machlokes I forgot the name, the word, but it means the place. Some places are mevatel kol, and some places are not. Shua is mevatel kol, Nardo is not. Nardo is right. Shmuel is the Rav in Nardo. Nardo is the city of Shmuel, and then over there we know that they're not mevatel kol. So even that's not Shmuel's way of doing it, to find out if the kol is not true and to nullify it. So what does Shmuel mean to say? Check it out. Ella, the opposite. You should check out if you could verify that that the call was true and really she was married to the first one, then then she doesn't even need to get from the second one. She just stays for the first one, and the second one who was Mukadesher is nothing because she's already Mukadeshes. Once she was married to the first one, so then the second one's marriage was nothing. So that's what Shmuel meant to say. Here you have a woman that there was a call that she was married to Reuven, let's say, and then Shimon married her. Shimon gave her also a ring, and then we verified that Reuven really did marry her first, and therefore the second one is nothing. She doesn't need to get from the second one. She just stays by the first one. She does not need to get to the second one because she was married to the first one, and the second one's ring was nothing. But then the Gemara says it's not so simple. What would happen? She was a married woman that accepted Kedushin from a second man. Well, this, if so, then Shmuel's arguing on Ravuna. Dam Ravuna, if a married woman stretched out her hand and accepted Kedushin from somebody else, a married woman, that's special that she's married. She's married, and she accepted Kedushin from another man. So we assume that she was divorced from the first husband, and the second Kedushin is a Kedushin. Yes, because she wouldn't have the chutzpah with the Rav Hamnuna. Dam Rav Hamnuna, if a woman says to her husband's face, "You divorced me," she's believed, even though she doesn't have the proof. It's a chazaka that a woman cannot have such audacity to her husband to say, "You divorced me," if she knows he really didn't. He knows and she knows. So here, if this woman, even if the call is going to be verified that she really did accept it because she got Kedushin for the first one, how come Shmuel says she does not need to get from the second one? The fact that she had the chutzpah to accept the Kedushin from the second one must prove that the first one, she got divorced from the first one. No, she's taking it as Kedushin.
Yeah.
It's a Shabbat Fruta. That's not the thing of you saying about go with the husband, that's what the Gemara is going to say, is it if the husband or not. But the other point that the Gemara doesn't consider. The Idach, Shmuel holds, Kiyef Madar Rav Hamnuna b'fanav. Shmuel also agrees to Rav Hamnuna's din, that if a woman says to her husband that he divorced me, the choshesh that he divorced her, we believe that he divorced her, or else she wouldn't have the chutzpah to say that. But over here, that's only when it's b'fanav. She says it to his face. But shalom b'fanav miza me'iza. But if she says it not in his face, she does have the chutzpah. The average woman would have enough chutzpah. We can't prove from that she really got divorced. So here, this was shalom b'fanav. This was that she got kedushin from the first one, or a kol at least as a kol, and we verified that it was really true. She didn't get kedushin from the first one, and then she accepted kedushin from somebody else, since it was not in front of the first husband. So it doesn't prove anything. Me'iza u'me'iza. It's like an emphasizing way of saying she does have the chutzpah. Because at one time it says Misa, she definitely has enough chutzpah to do it not in this place. So that was the end of the point about what Shmuel meant to say, that check it out. So Shmuel said, again, what was the case we were talking about? It was a call, she was married to the first husband, to one husband, and then a second husband actually, with favorish in front of Adam, gave her a Shabbat Pruta to marry her. So Shmuel said that Teitzin. In between, the Gemara said, he said, check it out. If you could verify that she really was married to the first one, then she doesn't have to get divorced from the second one. She just stays with the first one. But now the Gemara says, what if they were not able to verify it? What does Shmuel say? Teitzin. If they weren't able to check it out, Shmuel said trying to check it out, but they checked it out, they weren't able to. So Shmuel said Teitzin. So what does that mean? The first one should give a get. They weren't able to verify anything. There was a call that she was married to Reuben, and she got Kedushin from Shimon. You couldn't verify if the Kedushin was Kedushin. The call is only a call. It's a call against the fact. It means the call was that she was married to Reuben first, and then she actually accepted Kedushin from Shimon. So Shmuel said Teitzin. What does Teitzin mean? So Rav Huna says, Megarish Rishon v'nosei sheni, that the first one should divorce her. The one who there was a call about, the one who the call said he married her, Reuben, he should give her a get, and then she could stay with the second one. Because in case it was a real Kedushin, if the first one was not a Kedushin, if the call is not true, she surely can marry the second one. If the call was true, that she was really married to the first one, so you should give her a get, and then she can marry the second one. You can say the same thing opposite. You also can say that the second one give a get, just in case the first one was not a Kedushin. Let the second one give a get and let it go back to the first one, but she never was married to him. The Chari could have done both ways, but that's what the Gemara is going to say. If you learn Teitzei alone, Shmuel said Teitzei, we could have thought on our own either one. Either the first one gives a get and she marries the second one, or the second one gives a get and she marries the first one. But that's what the Gemara is going to say differently. Only one way. The first one can give her a get, the one of the coal gives a get, and she can marry the second one. But she shouldn't get a get from the second one and marry the first one. My timer. People might think that's Machzik Gushas, and really it's not Machzik Gushas, because what happened over here? There was a call with the first one, she married the first one, and then she actually got Kedushin from the second. She got Kedushin from the second. If the first one was a Kedushin, then the second Kedushin was nothing. Yeah, but really it didn't happen. I'm saying really about the fact alone that we have, the first one was a coal, second one was real, was actually, we know it gave her Kedushin. So there's no real problem that the second one should divorce her, because if the first one's marriage was the marriage, so the second one was nothing, he didn't divorce her. The person never divorced her. She can go back to the first one. And that's in case the first one's marriage was not a marriage, so she was never married to him. And the second one was the marriage, and he gives her a get, and she can marry somebody else. So really, there's no problem. But there's going to be the problem. It's a rumor, a gzera, that people might say that the first one divorced her, and now she went to the second one, and now the second one's divorcing her. She's going back to the first one, and that's us. Even though it was only everything, there was no one doing over here. No one consummated anything. But there's also us. Massive Bishasam and Erizin is also us. There's a call that she got married. That she married. There was a call. That was a call. The one suggesting let her get the gerushin from the second one. She wants the first one. She wants to marry the first one. There's a call about Reuven married her, and then she accepted Kedushin from Shimon, and we tell her, lady, you can't marry two men. And so she says, okay, so I'll get a divorce and from the second one, and I'll be with the first one. And there's really no problem, because she wasn't married. It wasn't Masik Rushasa really, because if the first one was the marriage, so that second one was nothing. So she's going back to her original husband. And if the first one was nothing, so she was married to the second one, and she got a get from him, and now she's going to the first one. There was no Masik Rushasa. But why did she go on without? That's already emotional questions, all kinds of motivations. To make up stories, we can make up all kinds of stories. Like, we can make up on it.
He didn't actually.
He didn't divorce her. No, there's only a call that he married her in the first place. We don't know that he definitely married. There was a call he married at the first, married Reuven. All the stories, you can make stories the whole day with all these things. There's not, but the question, that's not what the fact. There was a, you have to talk, without, just the books, without the stories. That there's a call that she married the first one, and she actually got conditions for the second one, and now we say, Mrs. or Miss, whatever, that you can't be married to both of them. So we say Teitze. So Teitze, one of them has to give you a divorce, and the other one you could marry. But which one? So Gemara says one way is good, the other way is going to be a chash. People are going to say Machzik Rishas, even though it really is not Machzik Rishas. So people might talk. People might talk that the first one was a real marriage, and he must have divorced her, and she married the second one, and the second one divorced, and she go back to the first one, and that's Machzik Rishas. Even though it's only Erison, it's also us. When a man divorces a wife, she marries somebody else, he's not like, she's not like, go back to the first one. That's Machzik Rishas. That's awesome. That was Rav Huna. Rav Shinana, not the regular name. Some say Rav Shisha, Rav Idiyamar, Afrika Risheni, Venose Rishon. He's not cautious for this laws. That people are going to say that the first one divorced her, and then the second one divorced her. No problem. The second one could divorce her, she can go back to the first one. And they're not cautious for this laws. Name Amri, Aini Rabari Bekidushe Toosava. People will say that they must have investigated that the first one was not a Kedushin, and that's the reason why she's allowed to go back. Kedusha Toros, which one is Kedusha Toros? This, I'm not sure. Kedusha Toros, the first one, the second one. Second one gave her a get. What are they going to say? And she was always married to the first one. You're asking for a get. You want to? We see that she gets a get from the second one. Yeah, they looked into it. Is there any Rashi on this? Inu barabana b'kiddushay sheni, the low kiddushay nenu. Really, the first one was a marriage. The low yom v'shagir shatchila. Shakol yodu. So Rashi says shagel lo yodu b'get shesrach. I was asking that everyone knows that you got to get. If we make her get a get from the second one, so that means it was not a mistake. So Rashi says shakol lo yodu b'get shesrach nu misheni. Okay, Rashi comes to answer the question that it's not so famous that she got a get, so we could assume that people will just say that the second one was not a marriage, the first one was a marriage. They don't see any big story. The first one married her. Someone else tried to marry her, but no, she was married to the first one, so he's not choshesh. It could be that they're learning more different, maybe, but this was Rav Shisha, probably the gear says Rav Shisha made Rav Idu. That you're not choshesh for the last. And that Gemara. All this Gemara was about, there was a call from the first one, and she actually got Kedushin from the second one. So Shmuel said, Teitze, she could verify the first one was a Kedushin, so then she doesn't need to get from the second one. But if it's not verified, get a get from the second one, get a get from the first one, and she can marry the second one. Maybe you can get a get from the second one and marry the first one also, but that's more chash because maybe there'll be a laws about Machzik Rushasa. New Gemara, one line up. Yasal a call, Mizel Mizel. Both of them is only a call. Not in the first case, there was a marriage, right? Kedushin, betrothal. That the first one, the two, Reuben and then Shimon. But in the first case, it was that there was we know for a fact the second one there was Adim, but the second one. But here, both of them are a code. So of course, the whole thing's going to be more lenient. That maybe everything is not true. Nothing is true. Both of them is only a code. Mahu. Papa Avzu Magash Rishon and Benose Sheni. Over here also, Rav Papa is going to be machmer as much as the first case. That all is choshesh like Rav Huna, that only one direction. We're not going to allow both ways. According to one who allows both ways in the first case, here also will say either one can give a get and marry the other one. But according to Rav Huna, that said in the first case that we only allow one direction, the first one should give a get and marry the second one. So here Papa is also machmer, even though the second one is a call also, you also could be have to be machmer that only one direction. The first one should give a get and marry you can marry the second one. But don't afterwards. Yeah, and then she can marry the second one, but don't has to. She can get a get from both of them if she wants. She can ask both of them for a get maybe. Okay. Yeah, that means it's mutter. It means it's mutter to get married. She's allowed to marry. That's the point. And a meimah here could be make more. Muteris l'shneim. Since the whole thing is a cold, so we're not going to be machmir that they're going to say machzik b'shas. So the whole thing is a cold. Like the first one is a cold, the second one is a cold. There's no, the whole thing is very lenient over here because both of them are a cold. The machzik b'shas, it means that you're, yeah, but that's a makdushin over here. The hilchasa, like that. Hilchasa muteris l'shneim. In the case where both of them are a cold, so then she's allowed to get a get from either one and marry the other one. New Mishnah. This is the final Mishnah? Final Mishnah of the second. So this is maybe we'll put it as the first Mishnah, maybe. Like when is a person when is it proper to divorce a wife? When is it mutter to divorce a wife? On what grounds is it divorcing a wife?
I'm just thinking.
Let's see. A person should not divorce his wife only if he found that she was mizana. There's some kind of znus. And then he's not also to be with her. He shouldn't give her a get only if she's mizana. Otherwise, even if she's not living up to the standards of a wife, if she wasn't a mizana, he shouldn't divorce her. I don't think so. We don't talk about it.
You're not checking for me. I remember.
We didn't learn. You went ahead. Because the pasuk says, how's it going? The pasuk? What's the beginning of the pasuk?
You did not find another circle.
So it's on the screen now. If a man marries a woman and he has relations with her, and then she doesn't find favor in his eyes because, quite key, what key means we'll see soon. In their simple words, because he found in her Erbas Dava. So he gives her a document of divorce and he puts it to his area and then he sends her away. So that's the case that the pasuk talks about divorce. He gives it to her hand. He gives a document into her hand. Forget. And he sends her away from his house. So it says, you must have Erbas Dava. So Bejama says, Erbas Dava means the shameful thing. It means that she was Mazana. So that's the reason for divorce. Otherwise, you shouldn't divorce her. It's going to be also that he has to divorce her. Right. Another reason that's not grounds for divorce. Now, the Gemara is going to say if he did divorce her, she's divorced. But he shouldn't. It's not proper to divorce if not for this reason. That was Beis Shammai. Even if she burnt his food. Burnt can be by fire. Rashi is also putting in too much salt.
I remember learning this.
Burnt. Rashi brings the pasuk for that. Rashi is bothered by your question. Rashi brings in the Vam Lamed Beis Ki Eish Kadcha Ba'api. The word Kadcha is to burn. So Basil says that even if for such a reason also she's not housekeeping well. It could be that she did it intentionally. I'm not sure what Basil means. He did it intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, but I don't think it's Pashup Shah. Shenema, Kimatsu Bayavas Davor, he's stressing the word Davor. Kimatsu Bayavas Davor. Davor is going to mean anything. If any reason that there's some shameful thing, it doesn't have to be Mamash Erva, any kind of thing that's bothering him is called the Davor, and it's also a reason he's motivated him to divorce her. We'll see more in the Gemara. But Bakiva Omer, a third opinion, for no reason at all, he found a better wife. Shenema, Vayam Losim Sachem Beinav, she doesn't find favor in his eyes. And that the pasuk says also, like we saw the pasuk on the side, look at it again, that it seems to say a couple of things. It says she doesn't find favor in his eyes. Ki matzav ervas davar. So till now, Beishamai says ervas. Beisil says davar. And Beis Rekiva says chein. She doesn't find favor in his eyes. Whatever reason. So that's the question. I dash in the pasuk over here. So that's the Mishnah, and you have three opinions. Excuse me? Rabbi Kiva. Beishama, Beisila, and Rabbi Kiva. Tanya, Amu Beisila, Beishama. Balok Farnema Dovar. Doesn't it say Dovar? So how could you just ignore the word Dovar? It says any reason. Amulam Beishamai, Balok Farnema Erbas. You also ignore it. It says Erbas. Erba means Dafka Erba. So everyone has to explain the other pasuk. Amulam Beisila, Nema Erbas, Valanema Dovar. I'll explain to you why it has to say both pasukim. Erba Taka means Erba. And Dovar means anything. So why does it say both? If it only would say Erba, then I would say like you. Only Erba is the reason why you should divorce her, otherwise you shouldn't divorce her. But that's why it has to say Dover. How come it says Erbas? That's your kasha on me. Then I would say, Yisi Omer, Mishum Dover Tinase Lacher, Mishum Erba Lo Tinase Lacher. Means the pasuk, besides saying that he divorces her, it also continues and says that she marries somebody else. If the pasuk says it over here, it doesn't. Here it just says, but the next pasuk continues, I don't have it in front of me. But the pasuk continues that after she leaves his house, she marries somebody else. Then the pasuk continues, if he dies or divorces her, she can't go back to the first one. This is the din of Machzir Grushasa. But the pasuk does talk about marrying somebody else. So Beisil says, you know why it says Ervas? To say that, of course, he could divorce her. He could divorce her even for a dover. But the reason why it says Ervas is even for an Ervas, she may marry somebody. She may marry somebody else. You might have thought that if somebody divorces his wife because of znus, then nobody should marry him. Nobody's allowed to marry her. So the reason why he says Ervas is to tell you a leniency that she's allowed to marry somebody else. But that he's allowed to divorce her, he's allowed to divorce her even for a double. That's how Beisil explains the pasuk very well. How come you need both pasukim? You need dover to say he's allowed to divorce her for any reason, and you need Ervas to say that she's allowed to remarry even if it was she's thrown out of the first house because of znus. You're right. Yeah, probably printing was. But there's no such thing. Right? Okay, so that was Beisil explained themselves. Ube Shammai. Beishamai said why it says Ervas, but why does it say Dover? Or Beishamai had Dover my Avdile. What did he do with the word Dover? Beisil says isn't a mashma that she can get divorced for any reason. The answer is never can Dover, but never Malan Dover. Al Pishnei, which pasuk does it say that? It says Dover someplace else. Where does it say? Al Pishnei Edim, Al Pishlo Shoidim Yakum Dover. That you have to have 2 or 3 Edim in order to verify something. And what do you learn out? That they also have to have 2 Edim. Ma Lalan Bishnei Edim, Afkan Bishnei Edim. You have to have 2 Edim. 2 Edim for what? So I don't think it means to say that he can't divorce his wife. If the husband knows that she was Mazana, of course he could divorce her. But that she should be usher to him is only if it's verified with Edim. Of course, if he knows also. So he does. Right, we're learning out. Here it says Erba, and Erba means that she was Mazana, but it says Dover, it says Edim. And this is going to be, Shammai is coming to say that he must divorce. He's also if the Edim come and say, if it will be other rumor, he's not going to divorce. But if there's Edim that she was Mazana, then he has to divorce her. So the Gemara is coming with 2 junctions over here. One is when he's allowed to divorce her, and one is when he has to divorce her. The Shammai is saying when there's Edim, then he has to divorce her. That's why it says Dover. We're going to see, so Rashi tells us that Beisil is also going to agree that this talach is true, that in order to make her usher to be with him, it has to be to wait him. But he's going to learn both Russias. If it just be coming to tell you at Russia that there's Edim, that she was Mazana, then it shouldn't say Erva's Davar. It should say Erva Bidovar, Erva with Edim. If it meant to tell you only your halacha that there are Edim that she was Mazana. Beishamai says, yeah, but according to you, it's also not so nice. Miksiv o Erva o Dovar. According to Beis Hillel, what is the pasuk coming to tell you? That he could divorce her for either reason, and she could get married for either reason. That if there's Erva, he could divorce her, and she could remarry. If there's Dovar, he could divorce her. So I'm saying either one is a reason. So according to you, also it's not so nice, Beis Hillel, that it doesn't say oh Erva o Dovar. It says Erva's Dovar, and you're saying either one is each one is on its own, either for Erva or for a Dovar. So the pasuk is not going to go into you either. It still says it is okay. Really, the pasuk wants to tell you both halachas. One is when he has to divorce her, and one is where he may divorce her. And may divorce her and she can get married again. So it says It doesn't say oh erva oh davar, because then you wouldn't see the halacha that two edim make that she has to get divorced, but they still agrees to Beis Shammai's drasha that the davar tells you to edim and then she has to get divorced. He agrees to that, and that's the reason why the pasuk didn't write oh erva oh davar, which would have told you just he could divorce if any one of these two reasons, and she could remarry even if it was forever. But I wanted to tell you also the halacha that if there are two edim, he must divorce her. So Beis Shammai still have the last word over here, at least, that he has an explanation why it says Ervas Dovar and it doesn't say oh Erva O Dovar, it doesn't say Erva Bidovar. But Beis Shammai is a little difficult that it should have said Erva Bidovar, because when Beis Shammai is just coming to tell you he only could divorce her for Erva reason, and if they're two way, then he has to divorce her. But it would have been better to say Erva Bidovar, and the Gemara leaves it as a question on Beis Shammai. Maybe it's not a knockout, but they still will explain. No, Mashmach is still talking. They still says they still is talking till the Tilas. It's all based on, and it's coming to say that the reason why it says Erebas Davar, there are two ways that it could have said. One way is to write O Erva O Davar, which would mean reasons why husbands allowed to divorce as well. Erva Bid Davar would have meant that the Edim that she was Mazana, he has to divorce her. It doesn't say either way. It doesn't say Erva Bid Davar. It doesn't say O Erva O Davar. It says Erebas Davar. That's like a compromise that it has. It's mashma both ways. The word ervas dover is going to be mashma o erva o dover when he's allowed to divorce her, and it's also going to be mashma erva bid dover that if there are two edim, he has to divorce her. So Beis Hillel wins the discussion. It doesn't mean he passed like Beis Hillel. Maybe he passed like a Bekiva. So let's see. Bekiva was the third opinion that he's allowed to divorce her without any reason. He wants somebody else. He finds a better wife. And she didn't do anything wrong. Nothing wrong with her. But somebody else is better. It's also a reason why he's allowed to, because she's not anyone. He could do that also, but he wants to have he wants only one wife. Also, but where's the machlokas over here between Rabbi Kiva against Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? So the Gemara talks about Rabbi Kiva and Beis Shammai. Rashi says it's also Beis Hillel. Really, Rish Lakish. Talking about Rish Lakish's din or Rish Lakish's pshat. Rish Lakish ki. This is a famous Gemara. Ki mishamish be'arba l'shamis. The word ki has 4 translations. The word ki, quotations, serves as 4 terms. And they are E Dilma Ela Daha. 1, 2, 3, 4. E Dilma Ela Daha. Those are the 4 of the word ki. Sometimes it means if, E, like im, and Dilma means maybe, or pen. Rashi says pen. Pen is like in a negative way, but less. That's a good one. And Ella means rather, and the her means because, or that. Rashi puts both Asher and Mipnei. So those are the 4. So this pasuk Kimatzav Ervas Dava. So we go to the pasuk over here. First see it on the side, then we'll see it in the Gemara. It says, "Oh yeah, most okay." Ki means okay. Which one is when? None of these are when. If a man takes a woman and he has relations with her, and it will be if she doesn't find favor in his eyes, ki, this is the word ki. Ki matzav ervas dava. What does that word ki mean? Anybody? Suggestion?
Yes.
Lest? No. What's less about? Because. If say because, so it means the reason why, so then it's not Rabbi Kiva. The reason why she doesn't find favor in his eyes is because he found the ervas dava. So it explains itself. So that way you said is not Beis Shammai. And Rabbi Kiva is going to say im. Im lo simcha chen be'einav. Im matzav ervas dava. So there's 2 reasons. It could have said im twice. If she doesn't find favor in his eyes. If he found in her ervas dava. So according to Rabbi Kiva, it says a bunch of reasons why he could divorce her. Lo simcha chen be'einav, ervas dava. So he doesn't limit it to only Ervas Dova, but Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, they don't look at Imlo Simcha Chen Beinav, because the pasuk itself explains itself. Because why no Chen Beinav? Because Ervas Dova, according to Beis Shammai, not Erva, according to Beis Hillel, even Dova, but the word ki means because. So the Gemara is saying they're arguing what the word ki means. Everyone agrees to have both these explanations, and they're arguing how to explain it over here. The Shlaki says, Rabbi Kiva, the Beis Shammai Savri, volume of Simcha Chen Beinav, ki matzav ervas dava, the ha. That's the translation of the word ki. because the home must wear double. So that means because. So it's no. So Lasim Schein Bein was not enough reason to divorce her. It's only because he found in her Erva's Dover. Beis Hillel also is going to say that. Just Beis Hillel says that Dover doesn't mean Erva, but there's no such thing as Lasim Schein Bein that stands on its own. It's only because it was Erva's Dover. Rabbi Kiva Saba, he must have Erva's Dover. Here it says Inami, but it means im. Inami must have Erva's Dover. Another reason, either because of this reason or because of that reason. One reason is Masabar, one reason is because Lasim Sachen Beinav, and another reason is im Masabar Vasdava. So that's where the Machlokes is. End of that Gemara. So we have Machlokes B'Shabbat V'Silla and Rabbi Kiva. What if he didn't find any substantial reason that he's divorcing her, and he divorced her anyway? He wasn't supposed to, not the right thing to divorce her. Is she divorced? Of course she's divorced. He divorced her. But do we say that he has to marry her back? He divorced her for Rabbi Kiva has not Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva has no problem. Not Rabbi Kiva. According to Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, that he divorced her for no good reason.
According to
Hillel. Beis Hillel says there's no good reason. Right. Rabbi Kiva says he doesn't need a reason. But according to Beis Shammai, he needs a reason, and he divorced her for no good reason. Do we make him take her back again? Amalei, so Rabbi said, no. Mitigoli Rahman Gabi onus. An onus on Mafata. So an onus, someone raped a woman, so he has to marry her, and he never could send her away. And if he does, we tell him to marry her again. We force him to marry her again. Forever he's stuck. So that it only says by an onus. For the rest of his life, he's always mechuyev to take her back again. If he ever divorces her, he has to marry her back. That's only by an onus. Only over there the Torah says it's such a din he has to marry her again. If the halacha would be that any husband that divorces for no reason has to take her back, he wouldn't need a special halacha by an onus. It's only over there. Avalacha, my davad. He shouldn't have divorced her, but if he divorced her, we don't force him to marry her back. End of that Gemara. New Gemara. The husband decided to divorce his wife, and she doesn't know about it, and she is serving him, either service or relations. How about what do you say about that? He has in mind to divorce his wife. And she is serving him, or Mishamashim and Tashmish. What do you like? What is the status of such a thing? We'll see the answer, so it explains the question. Don't scheme against your friend evil when he is secure with you. It means that she doesn't know what he's planning against her. So if he decides to divorce her, he shouldn't hide it, and he should know, and he shouldn't take advantage of her. It does. It does talk about the Grushas Alev. I think it says that not good to have relations. Once they decide to get divorced, so it's not proper to have relations. What? There's no such thing as both sides. Everything is the husband in the Gemara. So also, I think the Gemara would say that that's called a Grushas Alev. Like they shouldn't have relations. Yeah, because because she doesn't know about it. So then it has this aspect of planning against somebody and they're innocently being taken in. Does the Rashi say anything about that? No Rashi on that. No. Okay. Next Gemara. Tanya, just like people are different itach. That's the end of the pasuk. New Gemara, Tanya, Brisa, but Meir would say, just like they have different opinions, not opinions, better way to say it, of in food. No, it's going to be able to say how finicky a person is about food. So too, people have different peda. What's the word for peda? About particular, the way people are different particularity in food. So too about their wives. First he gives a mashal about food. Some people, if a fly falls into their cup, they would, even if they throw away the fly, they're not going to drink it anymore. He's not going to drink it. Even if he took a no fly anymore, the fly's out. But they're so finicky that once there was a fly, he doesn't drink it anymore. And now we take the nimshal about a wife. The Zui Midas Papas Ben Yehuda. This was the way that Papa's Ben Yehuda was so makbid on his wife that she shouldn't have any kind of, I don't know, not relation, but any kind of relationship, any kind of a give and take with anybody. When he would leave the house, he would lock his wife in. Nobody should have anything to do with it. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. That's like being very extreme, very super finicky. In the case of the food, I'm not sure if the one makes it sound like some people that they wouldn't drink the wine after they, even if they had a fly in it, and they took out the fly, they're so finicky, they're not going to drink it. Nowadays, everyone's finicky. I'm not sure. But nowadays, it's harder to find a person. Not everybody.
You would have had to pass. Which I heard was discussing something like a bowl of soup or something, and it was each one would take some and pass it to. And she found it disgusting, and she wouldn't eat it. And one day they put poison in it because she passed that same food. Because she was.
But it doesn't show any mitzvah over there. There's no mitzvah on that.
No mitzvah. She just like this.
That she couldn't eat. So he was so makbid that he wouldn't have his wife talking to anybody. So he used to lock her in. He would, yeah, when he would leave, he would lock his wife in. Yes. Right. And he comes back and he knows that his wife didn't have any kind of not a kind of person. It's not so finicky. That the fly he throws out of the cup and then he does drink it. This is a normal. This is only. This is a normal reaction. That she speaks with her brothers and relatives and it's no problem. So I don't get it. It sounds like this is also called a fly. That's also called a fly, but he's not makbid. He lets her to talk with her relatives and brothers.
That's
a problem. I think the storekeeper, the neighbor, or something like that. This is the middle one. This is normal. And I don't get it that the brothers and relatives is considered a chiddush and it's considered a zvuv. Like if she'd be a real tzaddikus, then she wouldn't do that. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get the Mila. I don't get it. Even in those days. It's called a zvuv. It's called a zvuv. Maybe it's not called a zvuv, but that's what it seems to say. A brother. Yeah, brother's not a problem. A brother's much of a sister. Is it a fly? Is it a fly? Is it a fly to have yichud with a brother? I don't see the chumrah that a woman shouldn't talk to her brother. I didn't look into it. That does really come on. I was surprised. That's called
if you ate the fly.
That's the next one. Yes. Right. Okay. Maybe. Some fly falls into his food. Before it was about the cup. I'm not sure why the Gemara changed the mashal. It falls into his plate of food, and he motzes over. Tamcha is a bowl of food.
Serving bowl.
Motzes of he squeezes it out. What does that mean? Like he gets the gashmak. I'm not sure what the word motzes of. Motzes usually means to suck. But that's the pshat. That's the pshat. That's the pshat that he eats the fly. He sucks the food off of.
He licks the fly.
I didn't find it. So Zu. So he has to suck it off. Zui midas adam ra. That's a bad man. That even if his wife is very prutza, he still doesn't object. Sheroa es ishto yotza v'rosha. He sees his wife going out with her hair uncovered. The tova b'shuk. Also, she spins thread in the market. Spinning thread, she has to lift one arm. It's not tzanua to spin thread in public. Ukuma mishnei tzedah. The clothing is the word parim is like to cut, which would mean like a slit. There are slits in her clothing. Rashi says on her arms. Rashi has in his place in Tzarfah said over there the adomios. They have worse nowadays, but they had slits on their sleeves, and that also is considered the pruma b'shnei that they're very unsanua. Nowadays the standards came much worse. And she washes beads with men, and the Gemara interjects can be. In Bnei Adam Shal. So why can't it be? So Rashi says that he'd be mechuyev to divorce her. And Tosfos says that there's no husband that would tolerate such a thing, and there's no woman that would do such a thing. And nowadays with the beaches, I think that we've gotten there also. But the Gemara says it can't be. Not that she bathes with them, but she bathes in the place where people are. And Rashi explains that the men are coming out and she's going in, and it's too close. Rashi says that she's coming in and they're in the middle of getting dressed, and she's going into the merchatz. It's too close. And the person, zu mitzvah that he's supposed to divorce her. So it says about the first one was that he's too makbid, the second one is normal, and the third one is not makbid enough. This is he's supposed to divorce her. It's not a chova, it's mashma, but it's first talks about is it a chova or is it a mitzvah? Shenema ki matzah b'evas davar. That's something like an evas davar that deserves to be divorced. End of Gemara, new Gemara. Or just continuing the pasuk, it says that he divorces her and she marries somebody else, that the pasuk says. So here it talks about that the first husband divorced her because she was promiscuous or something like that, there was davar, and she goes to marry somebody else, which says she's allowed to. But it's called she marries somebody else. The pasuk calls him somebody else because the pasuk wants to distinguish between the two husbands. This second husband is not similar. It's not a pair with the first one. The first one is very different than the second one. The first one got rid of this wife because she was acting like that, and the second one's marrying her like he's not in the same adreg as the first one. The first one was a better man that he divorced his wife because of that, and this one's willing to take her in. And now the second one, it says it wasn't so good that he took her. Zacha sheni shilcha or meshalcha shenema usnaya ishachar. When the person continues talking about masik b'shas, so it says that if the first one sends her away and she marries somebody else, and he dies or divorces her. It says two choices. If he dies or divorces her, the point is he can't go back to the first husband, masik b'shas. So it gives two examples. Either the second one dies or the second one divorces her. So if he's zocha, I'll just divorce her. Shenema usnaya ishachar, and pasuk continues v'shalchami beiso. The im love, if he's not zocha, then he's gonna die. Kovratu, she's gonna bury him. He's gonna die. He shouldn't have taken in such a wife. Shenema okemos eshacharon. He deserves to die because the first one divorced such a wife, and he's taking in such a wife. It says in the pasuk. That's the continuation of that pasuk that we read. The last Gemara. Ki sanei shalach. It's a pasuk in Malachi, I think, that is talking about the men over there. They took a goyish, had a Jewish wife, and they took a goyish wife, and they didn't send away the first one. And the second one was having a good time. The first one was suffering from being the extra wife kind of thing. So the pasuk says, "How do you learn ki sanei shalach?" The pasuk means that if you hate her, so send her away. Don't keep her. Release her. If you hate her, send her away. And the Gemara is learning out to all kinds of marriages that if you hate her, so you should not stay married. That the one who sends away his wife, the one who divorces his wife, is hated by Hashem. So the first one says, go ahead, if you don't like her, if you hate her, so divorce her. Second one says, if someone divorces his wife, he's hated by Hashem. Below pligi, they're not arguing, both shouting to the pasuk, both of them are true. First marriage, first time a person's married his first wife, so then Sanu Yamashalech. So Rashi says that's going according to Beis Hillel. Of course, if the Erbas Dover, but if Beis Hillel says that he's allowed to divorce his wife for Higdicha Tavshilo, but Hashem hates him for that. Even though Lo Kafino Shalolo, so we don't stop him from divorcing, but he's Sanui. That's what Rashi explains this Gemara, that even according to Beis Hillel, it says he's allowed to divorce her for Higdicha Tavshilo, but it's not a good thing. If no, Zivug Rishon means the first marriage. Yes, that was Zivug Rishon. So then he shouldn't divorce her only for Erba. And if he divorces her for Tichat Avshilo, even though he's allowed to, but it's not Hashem's not happy with him. If it's Zivug Sheni, so if it doesn't work, if he's not happy with her cooking, also he could divorce her. Anybody that divorces his first wife, even the Mizbech is crying about him. The rest of the pasuk now. There's no shenis tasu. This second thing, it's pasuk over there Malachi. I think kasos demos mizbach Hashem. V'chi v'anakam. Me'ein od p'nos ala mincha. the tears cover the mizbeach with crying and with tears and outcry, without wanting to turn to the mincha. Means if you bring kabbanas, Hashem's not happy with your kabbanas. The tears are covering the mizbeach because you're not loyal to your wives, and you bring kabbanas. Hashem doesn't want that. Hashem is not turning to your presence. And to take favor from your hands, you bring kabbanas. Hashem doesn't want your kabbanas. And you say why? You might ask why. What did I do? The answer is because Hashem testifies between you and the wife of your youth that you rebelled, you betrayed her. She is your friend and the wife of your covenant. So that's the Isha Rishona that a person should not divorce, and if he does, the mizbeach price for him. And that's on what the pasuk is. That till end. It's all one. It's all the pasuk. Here we have it. Here we have it over here. The Zoshen is here. Let me make it bigger for you. So here it is. Let's burn. Here you are. Here it is. A little bit smaller. The last thing was Zoshen is Tasu. Kaso. It's one big pasuk. Oh, two psukim it is. Yeah, two psukim. The Zoshen is Tasu. Kasos lemas mizbach Hashem b'chi v'anakom me'ein od penos alam mincha v'lakachas v'son miyatchem. V'amartem almo. Al ki Hashem v'yid beincha v'bein eshes nurecha asher atah b'galatah bo v'yachabertcha v'eshes brisacha. So we end off the Masechta that a wife is supposed to be chabertcha v'eshes brisacha.
I mean, that's not the ideal. This is the ideal. That's where other one is when the man, the woman, right?
Yes.
Amen.
Interesting that Navi Malach.
That's a story over there.